What is self-directed neuroplasticity? Well, neuroplasticity is just your brain's ability to rewire itself, to change its structure and function. And self-directed neuroplasticity is your ability to influence that change. So why is this important? Your brain is like the chief orchestrator. It's like the CEO over all of the organs, cells, and systems that preside within the body and that make up how we feel and function. And if you can reestablish your brain as that chief organizer, then it will increase our levels of adaptation and what's called cognitive, emotional, or even physiological flexibility. So think of a car for a second. In your car, you have a transmission, and the transmission is responsible for shifting gears, right? If the car was always going along a flat surface at 40 miles per hour, it wouldn't necessarily need a transmission. But the terrain changes. Sometimes it's going uphill, sometimes downhill, sometimes needs to accelerate, sometimes hit the brakes. And for that reason, we need to have this transmission, this mechanism for shifting gears. Similarly, the body and us as human beings, we aren't always going along at a steady pace. We're encountering all sorts of different things, physical changes in weather, in daylight, from the environment, as well as internal cues from stressors or situations or emotional cues from things that are happening in our lives. And for this reason, we want that brain, we want the limbic system, we want the nervous system to be able to adapt fluidly to the different things, the changes and the challenges that may be happening. Now, sometimes it's possible for the brain to become too rigid in a sense. That's to say that it can get stuck trying to maintain a certain function when that function is no longer appropriate. One example would be the stress response, where it's appropriate and useful to have cortisol and adrenaline and these different hormones and chemicals that result from acute bouts of stress. But if that stress continues and doesn't settle down, the body can get overly flooded with these neurochemicals and hormones, and that's what gives us that constant feeling of agitation and anxiety, or even depression and depletion, burnout, as we continue to create these kind of chemicals. So the goal of self-directed neuroplasticity is to help you regain control over your own brain and essentially reestablish your brain as that transmission over the body, that it can fluidly shift when it's called upon to come back to baseline and set this homeostasis in the body. One key to realize is that, of course, we can't always determine what's going to happen in life. We can't determine what the media or the news is going to present us with or challenges we might face. But through self-directed neuroplasticity, we can increase our shock absorbers. So there's this great saying of, don't try and pad the whole earth. Instead, put shoes on your feet, then you're free to go anywhere. So if we want to be free to go anywhere, to experience anything, and to know that our body has this capacity to self-regulate, then it behooves us to train this brain mechanism, this fabulous instrument that we have that can help to automatically regulate the body. I like to think of life sometimes as like a pendulum that has these dramatic swings. Sometimes it takes us all the way to the left of excitement and jubilee and bliss and all these things. Sometimes it swings all the way to the left, to the other side of, discomfort and trauma and trials and tribulations. We can't necessarily, again, determine that swing of the pendulum, but what we can do is start to climb the string. We can climb the rope of that pendulum and allow it to just swing beneath us without being pulled along for the ride. I once went to a motorcycle racing school, true story, and they said that the fastest people have the slowest hands. They're totally calm. They might be whizzing around the track at 200 miles per hour, but inside the helmet, on the bike, sitting there, their nervous system is completely calm. And this is not because the environment is soothing by any means. It's probably one of the most dangerous environments on Earth. But they've trained themselves to self-regulate to the point where they can maintain that calm center regardless of what's going on. And in fact, because they're able to maintain that calm center, they have much more control over what's going on.